Merton versus Parsons. What are his main points? Tell me. You didn't read any?
No, sir. I still didn't read Parsons and
Vishal, did you revise Parsons?
Yes, Parsons.
So what are the main points of Merton?
He used empirical formulas to arrive at a theory. Empirical formulas to arrive at.
Whereas Parsons is analytical, Mertons is empirical. Mertons is called empirical functionalism as opposed to Parsons' analytical functionalism. By analytical, he means simply logical. Okay. I mean, this is how things are supposed to be, rather than thinking whether they are like that or not. So, I mean, this according to Merton, it is not somebody's classification. So, according to Merton, Merton is looking at Parsons in a particular way. And with reference to that, he said his was analytical, Parsons was analytical, and his was empirical. Empirical functionalism versus analytical functionalism. Okay. First of all, what is functionalism? Okay. Can you tell me what are the assumptions of functionalism? What are the assumptions of functionalism? Okay. Deepika, can you tell me the assumptions of functionalism?
Yes.
What are they?
It says that different systems in the society, they exist together. They exist
together and integrated.
Integrated.
Okay. So integrated, that's called unity. They're integrated.
Yes.
Okay. Example of integration: education affecting family, democracy affecting family. So one system affecting the other is an aspect of integration. Integration is an important aspect of functionalism. Okay, one thing affecting another is functionalism, is one aspect of functionalism. But then tell me, does it impact like that or it doesn't? What is your understanding? For example, family versus education system. What does functionalism assume?
Functionalism assumes that each of the systems satisfies, does a function, it satisfies a purpose.
That's true. But what does it assume as the connection between education and family?
Okay, it is it is assuming a very straightforward connection. It's not assuming the degrees to which these two can differ, and how the effect varies based on the degree of these functions,
Okay.
of these systems.
You mean it is assumed that if education is changed, family will change?
Yes.
Okay. But what is your understanding? Does it change or it doesn't change?
It does change. It depends upon the degree of change and.
Okay. You mean to say some part of it changes and some doesn't change?
Yes, sir, and it also depends upon. So it's, you cannot say that this will impact it this much. So it depends upon the levels of these systems and the
Okay.
level of change on the other system.
Okay. Can you tell me, if the education doesn't completely change the family, who will suffer?
The family will suffer, the weakest section of the family.
Okay.
The
Okay.
society will also suffer.
Okay. Okay. Woman is educated but asked to work. She hasn't learned. Man hasn't learned anyway. So man hasn't changed and woman has not remained the same. So education is educating woman, but nobody is developing the required skills in family. So which means education is changing, family is not correspondingly changing, but it does change in the sense that woman may have more rights. It does change. So it is true that education affects family, but how much does it affect, how much it does not affect, and what problems it creates is an issue that Parsons has not considered. So Merton says that is analytical functionalism. He thinks it affects, but in actuality, it affects only partly. And when it doesn't transform smoothly, it leads to conflict. What is the right role of a mother? What is the right role of a daughter? It leads to conflict. Okay. So, so it need not smoothly affect, which means you can't assume unity. That's what Merton is saying. You can't assume unity. Family changes, but something else doesn't change correspondingly, doesn't change much. It can lead to conflict. One has to find out how much it has changed. So this is about the relationship between the systems. In Parsons' terms, relation between the systems, between education and family. It's like that. It is a relationship. Okay. So that all of them are integrated is an aspect of functionalism. Okay. So Merton is saying you will have to figure out to what extent they are integrated. You can't assume. You will have to find out. That is what is meant by empirical functionalism. Empirical functionalism. Okay. That is one point. Next, can you tell me next point?
Sir, I have a doubt here. So, if we take religion and say progress of women as two different systems, or say religion and family.
Exactly. That's true. Religion and progress of women also are important. Religion is not changing. Women are progressing. So religion is not adopting. Okay. So when religion is not adopting, then it can lead to certain issues. Somebody can take to fundamentalism, somebody can take to secularization. Somebody want to punish women, whereas somebody want to dilute religion. But all this is about lack of compatibility between systems. Yes, religion and family is one thing that you can think of. Education and family is one thing that you can think of. Economic system and family, you can think of. Caste and polity, caste and democracy, village and economy, social system and economic system. Okay. Next point.
Functional universality. So here it assumes that the function is always, if some system exists, the function is always a
If
positive.
some system exists, it should serve a positive function. That is one assumption. Whereas Merton thinks it may serve a positive function, negative function, or neutral function. Okay. So Merton wants to find out whether something is positive or negative or neutral. I mean, how do you look at anything as positive, negative, or neutral? For example, take dowry. Dowry is seen as a negative thing from woman's point of view. Dowry is seen as an evil. But then if you explain dowry is a result of stratification and woman not earning, then in that way dowry will look like functional thing. So what I want to say is that something may look functional to some, in fact it is functional. Okay. So how do you evaluate? First of all, the question is, under Parsons' theory, everything is assumed to be positive because he thinks if it is not positive, then it will disappear. Whereas in Merton's theory, you will have to find out whether it is positive or negative or neutral. For example, examination preparation, civil service examination and youth. Positive or negative or neutral?
It has both. We need to like
positive, negative, neutral.
we need to balance, as in we need to check what is positive for you, for a particular individual, how much positive he consider the preparation to be, and how much negative he consider other things that he has missed out to be, and he has to find out a net value.
Okay. That is what Merton thinks. Parsons thinks anything should be positive. Because if it is not positive, then it would disappear. So something is always positive is Parsons thinking. And it can be positive, negative, or neutral is Merton's thinking.
Perhaps Parsons is only looking at one functionality of the system. Is it ignoring the other aspects?
Okay.
So if there is a company which is giving you some product, just thinks that the company is giving me this product, it is satisfying some purpose for the humans, and that is the positive thing, but is not considering the negative aspects.
Negative aspects of a company.
Yes.
It can be pollution, destruction, many things. Okay. Then another thing is, Merton thinks that Parson is not considering alternatives to particular thing. Why this should be served only this way and why not the other way? So one should explore alternatives also. Why mobility cannot be achieved through other ways rather than through the exam? Is this the only way of measuring merit? Is this the only way of getting the recruitment? So Merton wants us to think in terms of alternatives, in terms of plus minus, and then in terms of whether there is a unity. So which he calls analytical functionalism. which he calls empirical functionalism as opposed to analytical functionalism of Parsons. And another thing is Merton wants that instead of giving a theory of the whole society, give theories of some aspects of the society, which he calls middle range theories. Theory of caste, theory of class, rather than theory of society. So that is another thing. And next, Merton also says that when you are analyzing functions, you will have to see whether the function is stated, and sometimes it may not be stated, and it may still be serving a function, which he calls latent function. So he uses these words manifest function and latent function. Manifest function is what it is serving explicitly, and latent function is what it is serving indirectly. Can you tell me what are manifest functions of civil service exam and latent function of civil service exam? Work out for you to understand what this manifest and latent means. Okay, try this question. Using Merton's concepts of manifest and latent, explain the persistence of corruption in Indian society. Tell me, what is this about? Manifest and latent functions of corruption. Explain, using the concepts of manifest and latent functions, explain the persistence of corruption in Indian society. Only in Merton they are asking some applicative questions. I don't know why. But what is your answer to this? First of all, can we say corruption is functional or dysfunctional? How do you define corruption? What is corruption? Is it functional or dysfunctional? And how do you explain? And what is manifest and latent? So leave Merton's theory and think about corruption now. Vishal, can you answer this? It's about corruption. Is corruption functional, dysfunctional, or to whom? Manifest, latent. Satish, can you answer this? What have you thought about corruption? You can tell me about corruption, not about Merton.
So corruption is something unethical, which is not legally or ethically right.
You mix up many things. Not legal, not ethical. Okay.
Suppose we are having some responsibility, but we are not doing the job according to our responsibility, and we are resorting
You
to
are
some
not studying regularly, so you are corrupt. You are not doing your job efficiently. Instead of 10 hours, you are working only for 7 hours. Are you corrupt then?
It may be a form of corruption, sir, but it's not. I don't think it's about.
What is corruption? Before you say the form of corruption, what is corruption? What is corruption and how can it be functional? Vishal, can you define corruption?
Corruption simply is the dishonesty in conduct of those who are in power.
Then you need to define what is dishonesty.
Uh, Dishonesty will
Why don't you
so
give instances of corruption if you are finding it difficult to define?
instances of corruption can be like it is said that uh, a bureaucrat, say for example, shouldn't use his official vehicle for his
Should not use official?
vehicle
Okay.
for his personal
Okay.
needs.
Hmm.
So in that case,
So why is that
you,
corruption then? Can you define it from that example?
because it's misutilization of
Using public office for private gain is corruption. Public office for private gain or personal gain is corruption. Okay. Corruption can be in private company also, then using the office for personal gain other than what the job is meant for. So using your position for personal gain rather than what you are expected to as the holder of that position. That is corruption. So take now corruption in government. You can say using public office for personal gain is corruption. But what can be functional to that? For example, Parsons thinks of everything in terms of functional to society. So how can that be functional to society?
because he's using a public office. I mean, maybe say for example that vehicle example. So if he because he's using public vehicle, he can be seen as he can reach the destination faster rather than using. It may be that he may not
No,
have
that is a small thing. You can take bribe as an example.
because of bribe. Maybe he's getting some
Through bribe, he will lead a comfortable life, and that is why he'll work harder.
so that's functionalism for Parsons.
For Parsons,
For Parsons, it can be a functionalism
how? Because
because
it
of
makes the bureaucrat happy.
so he may at least work for something
Okay.
utilitarian principle like
But then everything is functional. Crime also is functional. If A murders B, it's functional to A because now he was angry before and now he is relieved.
but the approach is different. So,
How?
I think it Mead
So how
answers
can
it
one think corruption as being functional to the society? And is it? Okay. So go through the question once again. Using Merton's concept of manifest and latent function, explain the persistence of corruption in Indian society. So how do you explain corruption? That's the issue. Okay. One way of looking at corruption is latent function of corruption is that when the society is unequal, like this rich poor, and bureaucracy says rule of law. Rule of law. According to rule of law, everybody is equal, but the society is unequal. So how is an unequal society managing this rule of law? Corruption. Corruption links the society with the bureaucracy. If there is no corruption, will people accept the bureaucracy? What do you think? Is it not a case of conflict between the society and the law? Deepika, what do you say?
Can you repeat the question?
Is it not a conflict between the case of conflict between the society and the law? Law says all are equal and the society is essentially unequal.
Sir, I think due to corruption, um, so if there is a government office and if there are some tenders that they have placed and they have given contract to somebody, so that somebody might not be the most competitive
Person.
but then the system is doing the work, as in the official is still doing the work. His function is being carried out.
You mean work is done despite corruption?
I'm saying with corruption also the work is going on. It might not be the best for the society.
Okay. With corruption also the work is going on.
Yes, sir.
You mean without corruption it would have been really difficult?
Uh, Given the present, given the company and the society.
So corruption enables things to go on.
For certain societies.
Okay. Okay. Some people are doing also called speed money. That is corruption enables getting things fast, getting things done faster. Okay. But how about this equality dimension? Society is unequal, but the bureaucratic rule is that all are equal.
So rule of law is like in front of the law they say that all are equal, but reality they are not equal. There are so many
Reality is not, they are not equal, that is true. But how is reality handling the law? Is it not through bending?
Yes, sir. Like in this case, the bureaucrats or the officials, they are making use of the glitches and wherever they're finding ways where they can't get caught, and they are using them for their purpose. They are basically exploiting the society. They are surpassing the law and.
But isn't surpassing the law a way of dealing with the law?
So they're using the gaps in the system and not getting caught on the face. They can't get caught because
So that makes rule of law and these laws possible to exist.
no, sir.
Okay, let me summarize. Don't you think it is because of loopholes, because of the corruption, society is reasonably smooth? If everybody has to follow the same rule without any loopholes and without any corruption, won't it lead to a collision? For example, if we know that preamble is something that has to be followed, Will we have that preamble in the first place? Will society accept such a preamble of equality?
Sir, equality can be in various forms. So,
Okay, all are equal before law. Can that be followed at all?
so are we considering income inequality as well?
Any inequality. Tell me which inequality is not being followed in law. Is there isn't there gender inequality, income inequality, caste inequality, ethnic inequality? Society is full of inequalities. But is there any provision in the law which says don't, pay attention to inequalities, treat rich people better? No. Give more importance to higher caste? No. Give more importance to your relatives? No. Which means corruption is the smooth link between the society and the administration. This is smoothing the link. We discussed how Sanskritization is a way of maintaining the caste system. Why? Mobility and go up. It is like that. The powerful people bribe and get things done. We think in terms of why corruption should not be there. If it should not be there, then why is it there?
Giving an incentive for the officials to work.
That is incentive for officials to work. But how about the society?
For the society, the rich only will be at a higher.
But that is not, is it not what they want?
Are you asking, is corruption, do the rich want corruption?
Yes, don't they want corruption then?
They want it because they can get things done with
They
it.
can get things done. So essentially, you make laws not with an intention to follow them thoroughly. You make laws as a kind of a proposal, and so that the society follows its own mechanism to go around the laws, to break the laws. So corruption is a kind of a smoothing process between the legal system, between the rule of law and the society. We think in terms of why it should not be there, but we don't think in terms of why in the first place it is there. Every day you want to study for 10 hours a day. So the goal is so high that you don't feel like it, so you sleep. So why do you sleep? Because the goal is too high. Isn't it like that? How can rule of law be possible? How can equality implementation be possible? You think in terms of the goal. You judge yourself in terms of goal. But why don't you think the goal itself may be wrong? Why do we think in terms of corruption-free society? Maybe the goal also is wrong. Maybe it is natural. Maybe the law is wrong. Maybe the rich people will have a higher access, whatever the way you formulate laws. I mean, does it make sense? Is it not like that? Should we judge everything in terms of laws only? Or do we need to consider that laws can be wrong? And sometimes corruption is the way to negotiate with those laws.
So in this process, the lower level of the society is losing out on everything.
But how do you know, first of all, law is right? Suppose you frame a law that you are not wearing a helmet, and if you don't wear 1 month imprisonment, and that man is not corrupt also. So what do you do? Is the law wrong, or is he corrupt?
The law is right.
Law is right. How 1 month imprisonment if you don't wear helmet? Do you think such a law is right?
I mean, the law that you have to wear, and I mean, the rule that
1 month imprisonment if you don't wear. I'm just giving a hypothetical example.
imprisonment, I think it is way too much for that.
Suppose somebody passes a law, and then don't you think it is better to bribe him and get around the law?
Yes, sir, if you have the money, you will bribe him and you will get out of it.
That's true, but at least some people should be able to bribe and get out, right? Or
That
everybody
purpose,
should be jailed.
so the purpose of the
What
law,
I'm saying is that is the law always right?
it is not always right, but it is trying some
How
measure.
can we know it is always trying? It may try to do ruthless things. Law can be wrong. Laws can be unfair, unjust. So many economic laws before liberalization were found to be wrong, and that is why we changed economic laws. So corruption is narrowly defined in terms of breaking a law through bribing, but we don't know what finally is the impact, whether that is right or wrong. So successful people or enterprising people don't want to follow the rules, and then they break and they succeed. So, I mean, corruption assumes that the law is right and society is wrong. Or the one who is breaking the law is always wrong. Isn't it like that?
Sir, I can't think of examples where the one who is breaking is right.
When he is breaking is right. Okay. So according to in one project, your land is being taken by the law. And so you gang up and bribe the officer and stall the project. What is wrong with that?
So generally laws are made, so not laws, it is looked at from the theory of utility. If more number of people are getting benefited,
But then if that is the case, why don't we formulate laws that help by cyclists? Why do we formulate laws that help users of heavy vehicles? Is the law right? Do we
in
allow industries to pollute, cut forests? Are the laws right? And the people who are struggling for rights, are they are imprisoned? Are the laws right? Police people kill in false encounters, thinking that others are violating some laws as if the laws are right. How can we say laws are right, are always right? And how do we handle such laws? More importantly, even if the law is right, will the society agree for equality treatment?
sir, it is like casteism, sir.
There is class system. according to the class. So will the society agree for an equality treatment?
Will not agree.
But then how should society handle the law then?
So probably by using mean for the rich. Mm, so they have made new income tax laws and those kind of things.
Income tax laws are one thing, but why should that be so? It can be an income tax is the only thing, but it can be about licensing and many other things. I don't know. You think about it, but this assumes that the laws are right. It need not be right. And even if the laws are right, it assumes that an unequal society will follow a norm. Why will unequal people follow one norm which is against their own interests? So, no, has anybody come across a society without corruption? There is no society, which means that the corruption is doing some function. So it is about unjust laws, it is about inequalities, it is about personal incentive system. Okay, so there can be functions and dysfunctions, and totally what it is. Manifest and latent issue here is that manifest is what it is explicit. Explicitly, corruption is supposed to be negative, but latently, it is doing many other things. It is like that. So think in terms of plus, minus, neutral, explicit, and implicit. Okay. So, and then you could take this, analyze manifest and latent functions of security of tenure of bureaucrats in the light of Merton's theory. Manifest and latent functions of security of tenure of bureaucrat. What is the security of tenure? Security of tenure refers to difficulty in suspension and dismissal. It's a lifetime security of tenure for a government bureaucrat, unless he is terminated as a part of disciplinary action. So very high levels of security of tenure. So what is the function of the security of tenure? Why is a bureaucrat given such a high security of tenure? Why is he given very high security of tenure? Vishal, do you have any answer?
Sir, because he need to be impartial and efficient.
He need to be impartial and independent. That is supposed to give him more independence, measure of independence, to go by the rules, by the constitution, without having to worry about how he will be removed if he doesn't obey an order, if he doesn't obey his superior's order. So with a long-term perspective, with a constitutionality, he's supposed to be independent, and security of tenure is a way of giving him independence. Okay. But then what is the flip side of that security of tenure?
Corruption.
Corruption. So positive thing, negative thing. Manifest is positive here, but latent is negative. That's one very important reason for the corruption, security of tenure.
Sir, in latent, can we say he will not be working to his full potential?
That is true. Latent, you can say he may not be working to his full potential. That you can see the way he going by the way he an officer works in a private sector. That's true. So you will have to work out what may be the impact of that. Manifest is what is stated. Latent is what is unstated. So think of plus, minus, stated, not stated, and neutral. Okay.
Sir, in previous corruption case,
Okay.
we were only sticking to monetary aspect of the corruption.
Yes, monetary aspect or that is one. Monetary aspect is one, but also policy rigged in a way to benefit few individuals. That is also corruption.
So we can bring in pressure groups here.
No, pressure groups, unless the policy is rigged to benefit somebody, to benefit a bureaucrat, that is corruption. Where otherwise policy has to be influenced by various groups. So pressure groups saying this is the way policy should be, that is not corruption. Environmental groups, business groups, religious groups, they have the legitimate right in a democracy to influence policy. That is not corruption. But if somebody is doing it because he is assured of some money or some party funding, then that is corruption. Public office for private gain is corruption. Public office being influenced by various inputs is not corruption. Okay. Merton's concept of deviance to understand traffic problem in urban India. So all kinds of questions. Concept of deviance to understand traffic problems in urban India. So what is meant by deviance? Okay. So let us understand Merton's concept of deviance. Okay. Okay. Can anybody summarize, Deepika? What do you know about Merton's concept of deviance? What is a deviance? Tell me.
Deviance is something which is off from the norm.
Off from the norm. Okay. Is Gandhi a deviant?
Yes, sir.
Very much. So deviance doesn't mean negative thing. Off from the norm. Einstein, deviant. Many geniuses are deviants. Religious prophets, deviants. Off the norm. Okay. But is all deviance positive?
Some can be positive, some can be.
So this concept of deviance is given by Durkheim. He said in any society, some people would be off, and that is deviance. And deviance, according to Durkheim, can be functional, is functional. Why? Because some deviance will be a model for others, will be a role model for others. Some deviance will be dysfunctional, some can be criminal, but some deviance will be role model for others. Okay. So what Merton did was, he applied this concept of deviance to social structure. Social structure. To the social structure, Merton said that he applied it in the context of an American society. In American society, he said, um, uh, success is valued. Success is valued, appreciated, but then one has to be successful doing things legally. So if one is trying to be successful doing things legally, he is normal. If one is not trying to be successful, deviant. Trying to be successful illegally, deviant. Not trying to be successful, not trying to do things legally, also deviant. So he thought how society produces deviance, how social structure produces deviance. Okay. Can you tell me why more Muslims are in prison? First of all, can you consider people in prison as deviant?
Yes, sir.
Yes. But why are more Muslims imprisoned in India?
It could be because of many factors. They might be placed in the lower strata.
Lower strata, lower class, that is one.
People perceive them as, I mean,
Okay. But
perceive
can you give some other factors more specifically?
less
Their,
edu-
their placement in police, very low.
less education and
Less
employment.
education and also their placement in police, biased in communal writing and things like that. So which means that Muslims are more because of the social structure in which Hindus are dominating. In fact, in one study, we said that minorities have higher representation in jails in all the states. For example, Hindus in Nagaland, for example, because in Nagaland, Christians are in majority. So which means social structure is related to deviance. Poor people in jail, that also is related to social structure. So what Merton did was, he linked deviance with the social structure. Durkheim did not link. Durkheim said deviance is inevitable in any society. Deviance will be there even in a school, in a college. Even in a small thing, there will be some kind of deviance because deviance is deviation from the norm. Okay. So, how could one use Merton's concept of deviance to understand traffic problem in urban India? What is deviance and urban traffic problem in urban India? What is the source of deviance according to Merton?
Traffic, it is following the traffic rules.
Huh?
In traffic, if you are not following the traffic rules, you are deviating.
You are deviant, that's true. But so then why are Indians deviating more then? Or how is traffic problem caused?
Too many people and
Population. But then if there is more population, there can be more orderly movement because of traffic congestion requires more orderly movement if there are more number of people.
the traffic.
Tell me one thing. What is the cause of deviance to Merton, unlike to Durkheim, we just discussed?
It is where the individual is placed in the social structure.
So can we say social structure causes problems of deviance?
Yes, sir. If somebody is
Now tell me, is the social structure related to the way our traffic is structured? Don't you think giving importance to heavy vehicles, big vehicles, not paying attention to public transport, rail, bus, cycles, don't you think we see caste system in the traffic? car respected more compared to two-wheeler, and cyclist is not at all valued, and a bigger car compared to smaller car, isn't it? And there is no respect for smallness. There is no respect for equality. People simply try to pass the other. So you can see the society in the traffic, the way the traffic is organized, the way traffic is moving. Isn't it so? Isn't traffic really organized to ensure maximum number of people's movement in the smoothest possible way? Or is it trying to give priority to some people? Yes or no?
Sir, are you trying to say that the public transport system is not catering to many people? It is very...
Exactly. Is it not so?
Yes.
Why is it not catering to many people?
It is...
Social structure, isn't it? So think of social structure related issues, then you will think of deviance. Deviance is produced from social structure. So better traffic management is possible. And why is it not there? Because of the social structure. How, according to Merton, are deviant subcultures generated? How deviant subcultures generated according to Merton? Deviant subculture is simply a deviant group. Naxalite is a deviant subculture, deviant group. Terrorists, deviant subculture, deviant group. How is a terrorist group generated? How are Naxalites generated? How are criminals generated? All that is deviant subculture. Take terrorists. Okay. So basically, how is a particular group created that way deviant? Because society is not working to their advantage, to their favor. They have no hope that by following the laws, they will be able to reach their goals. Take Naxalites, Maoists, we'll do them later in detail. They don't think that society is fair. So they have different goals. They're trying to generate something else. Why is it so? Because they don't think people are following the constitution. They don't think the people are following the laws. They don't think the government is fair. And they don't think that by participating in elections, they can produce fair outcomes. So social structure, unfairness of social structure, or for some people not able to respond to the social structure, creates deviant groups, deviant subcultures. Okay, that's all. Reference group, I'll give some notes on enemy. Reference group theory to understand fashion in society. Reference group theory, we discussed this. So tell me, how is fashion generated? Maybe we discuss this differently. Fashion is generated from reference group. You have a reference group whom you want to emulate. Okay. So often some film stars will start fashion. Film stars themselves may start fashion from from other cultures, Western cultures. So that's how somebody will start and they keep following. So that's what reference group theory is. That is what reference group theory is. And tell me, what is a reference group for a group that wants to Sanskritize? We discussed this. We use the word reference group. Huh?
Brahmins.
Dominant caste. Brahmins. No, we said Brahmins don't constitute the reference group.
The higher.
Dominant caste. Emerson was used a specific term for that, dominant caste. So I'll be giving some more notes on Merton. You can read. Now come to Mead. Okay, take this question. We play a key role in our own socialization. Explain. Mead. Mead. We play a key role in our own socialization. We explain. Okay. So this is about Mead. So can anybody summarize? Vishal, did you read Mead?
Yes.
Can you summarize Mead's theme? What is the title of his book?
Self and aware.
What is the title of his book?
Mind, self, and
Exactly. Mind, Self, and Society. Okay.
was it his book or his students'
Tell
book?
me, what is that about mind, self, and society?
Sir, was it his book or his students' book? Was it his?
This book only, Mind, Self, and Society. So tell me, what is that about?
He defined self and identity.
Okay. Mind, self, and society. Define what they are and what is the link. That is my question.
Mind, according to Mead, is something which is a process which develops and not imbibed.
Mind, self, and society. Okay. Mind. Okay, tell me, mind, self, and society. Okay. What is the link between mind and self and society?
Society controls mind through self.
Society
Controls mind
influences mind through?
through self.
Exactly. Thank you. Society influences mind through self. Okay. So your mother says, be a good boy. Mother saying, be a good boy. Is it mind or self or society?
Mother may be taken as society, I guess.
Exactly. Thank you. Everything outside oneself is society. Mother saying, be a good boy is society. Okay. Then, which is following that, mind or self?
It is mind through self.
Mind through self. What is self there?
I or me,
Very
which
good.
exists.
That I am not a good boy. Will I be a good boy? This is about identity. So mind seeing itself. He says that mind, Mead says, mind can see itself. And because it has a self, mind can look at itself. Because there is a mind and there is a self. So basically, mother says, be a good boy. And then you have done something. Then you think, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Suppose you did a bad thing. You want to change yourself. That is what is meant by socializing oneself. So what is the question? We play a key role in our own socialization. It is like that. Which means what the society thinks good and bad are internalized in us. Do you think it is reasonable? Yes or no? Why are you so serious about the civil service examination? Now you work harder than what your parents may ask you to do. Why?
Due to self.
Which means the parents already entered inside. They don't have to force. They already told you so many times that if you are like this, you will be that, this. Already, they are already inside. So that which means you will look at yourself in terms of working hard, not working, which means doing it, not doing it, like that. So society gets inside the mind and one can know what one is through reflection. That is what self is. So basically, society comes inside. Society is not outside. This school also comes under what is called symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism deals with individual, micro, relationship, not about bigger structures. So Mead comes under symbolic interactionists. So it talks about the links between the individual and the society. So Mead is saying that society is inside an individual. So if somebody is saying, I just bought this car for myself, I don't care about others, is he being frank or he is not? How do you know whether he is really caring or he doesn't care? So the question is the society inside? Are there people where the society is not inside?
Sir, we can see it from the way he behaves in the society. If
You can
society
see,
is
you can
in
see from the
way he behaves in the
way
society.
he behaves. Okay. He wants others around to be proud of his car. Then is he free from the society or not free?
He is not free from the
He's
society.
not free, isn't it? He bought a very costly car so that others can see the price of it. Others can see that how rich he is. Is he free from the society or not?
If he has bought it to show it to others, he is not free. If he has bought it for comfort, it is.
That's true. Anything to show to others, he is not free from the society. For comfort, he is. Okay, to impress, to do. Okay. So why is it so? Because society said you be like that, like this. And he is thinking whether he is like that or this. So how does he know whether he is like that or like that, like this? Because mind can see itself. At least that is how Mead explained. So entire socialization is taking place because the society is inside. So basically, according to Mead, society is not outside, society is inside. The rules are inside. So one is trying to improve oneself, but following the social norms. But here Mead said that can we say that the individual will be doing exactly what society says? Here he says that individuals can differ in terms of I and me component. Some people want to follow closely what the society says, and some people want to disagree. So he calls one as I component, another as me component, and there can be differences across individuals between these I and me components. Analyze the contribution of J.H. Mead, symbolic interaction. That's it. Next, take one more question, last question. Self and society are twin born. Examine the statement of Mead. This question is wrong. The statement is made by Cooley. Self and society are twin born. Cooley. Self and society. Oh, sorry. Self and society are twin born.
So is there a difference between I and me?
Some people have more of society component. Okay, for example, me is about role. I is about oneself. Okay, I and me. Me incorporates role expectations. I stores deeper values. Okay, for example, creative people will have more of I and less of me. Creative people will have more of I and less of me. It is like that. Me is about role. What people want is me. What do I want is I. I is about more defense. Me is about, it's just his words. What all he is saying is that people differ in terms of how closely they follow the society. That's all. Okay, come to the self and society are twin born. What is meant by twin born?
Born together.
Exactly. Twin born means born together. He's saying self and society are twin born. Self is about you are a good player. Tell me, when do you become a good player? Do you become a good player when without anybody playing with you?
When you are playing in harmony with the other.
Exactly. When you are playing with others only, you think of yourself as somebody. You are rich in comparison to somebody else. You are good in comparison to others. That is to say, self is always formed in comparison to others, which means self is again not isolated. It is in relation with the society. Cooley also is saying the same thing. You are good, compare it to. You are talented, compare it to. Okay. So always in comparison. That is why self and society are twin born. Okay. So it means, for example, if you want to be happy because you are richer than others, then what happens? Then you have to try to earn more than others. But unfortunately, that's what this game, economic game, is all about. One wants to earn more than others, and they also want to earn more. So in all try to compete, and in the end, very few people are happy. Why? And they are happy only for some time, that too, because once they reach at a level, they think of somebody higher than. So if you are thinking of happy by being better than, superior to others, then it is not happiness. So what Cooley says is that maybe creation of a better society, creation of a happier society may be different from creation of a happier individual. Because a happier society cannot be constituted out of people who can be happy only when they are better than others. For example, can everybody get first rank? No. Can everybody be in the top 10? No. One is only one, 10 only 10. Okay, but can everybody sing? Yes. Can everybody dance? Yes. Singing and dancing are different from ranks. So if the society is going more towards ranking, then people will be unhappy. If the society is going more towards what all anybody can do, everybody can do, then society can be happy. So what all it means is that self and society are interlinked process. So if the self and society are interlinked, and if you want to make more number of people happy, then what kind of a society is needed? What kind of goals are needed? So essentially, Cooley also is saying that an individual is intrinsically connected with the society. Why Mead and Cooley only were discussed is that sociology is about the study of society, and both Cooley and Mead are talking about how the society is inside the individual. Inside the individual, socialization being done by oneself. Self is a part of the society. Okay. Then he gave one more concept of looking glass self. He said that looking glass self refers to you think in terms, for example, how do you look at, how do you like somebody? He says, Cooley says, you think of what he thinks of you. That is looking glass self. Tell me, is this concept meaningful? You can think in terms of whom you like. You are likely to like a person when you think he thinks you are good. Isn't it so? When you think that he thinks that you are. When you think. And it can also explain frustration and humiliation. When Dalits think that others think that they are bad, that's humiliation. So looking glass self also talks about the idea that self is not in isolation. It is always in relation to others, in relation to the society. So Cooley and Mead are talking about the links between the individual and the society, the importance of relationship, and what constitutes society's happiness may be different from what constitutes individual happiness. And there may be better ways of targeting society's happiness as opposed to individual's happiness. So all kinds of implications are possible. So all this comes under what is called symbolic interaction. Is up. So that's all.